Hello, my name is Colin and I live in the UK and I want to build a better world. So when I was 16, I went to a poor school, but without even trying I came top in science in all the subjects. I had the best results in the school. And at the same time on television news reports, there were reports of a famine in Ethiopia. So people didn't have food and they were dying of starvation. So I thought, that's bad. I want to do something about it. So I thought, what could I do? I thought I could become a doctor. But then I thought, there's millions of doctors around the world. That's not solving the problem. So I thought, we need a more direct approach, right at the throat of the problem. I thought, I need to make a complete new start. And there was nothing I could study at school to educate me in that time, 1976. So I realised I'd have to do my own research. So one sunny morning, I sat there thinking, I thought, why isn't the world perfect? I thought, well, the world is made of individuals, so why are individuals not perfect? And then I thought of an experiment I saw in school with a saturated solution of copper sulfate. If you have a saturated solution, crystals will form, and they're rhombus shaped like that. If you keep the solution saturated, the crystals will align themselves and make a bigger and bigger rhombus, keep on growing like that. However, if you add an impurity like sodium sulfate, even a small crystal will not form. So I deduce from this that every individual in the world is born with some kind of impurity. So I guessed if I could research that myself, understand what the impurity is, and then publish the results, I could save the world and build an ideal world. So, of course, I wanted to follow the scientific method. And the first point in science is you never make an assumption. So I took that on board. So this essay is philosophical, but I do not assume that God exists. I don't assume that. I don't refer to the founder of any holy religion. I don't refer to any holy book. Absolutely no assumptions. You are allowed in science to make a theory, but you have to prove it, either by experimentation or by observation. So what is my target audience? My target audience is any person, anywhere in the world, any religion, any background, who believes in the scientific method. And I also welcome positive thinking atheists. So this essay is important. Why? I think this essay can unite the two worlds of science and religion, and it also has the potential to unite religions too. So I'm going to propose a theory now. It's a theory that I've heard. I didn't invent it myself. I'm going to propose it and then prove it. See what you think. Everything in the universe exists in a relationship of complementary pairs between a subject and object aspect, where the subject is big and strong and has a purpose for whole, and the object is small and beautiful and has a purpose for individual. That's the theory. I'm going to try and prove it. Let's look at a hydrogen atom. A hydrogen atom has a proton in the centre, which is big and heavy compared to an electron cloud that orbits it, which is light and small. Clearly a subject-object complementary pair relationship between them. That's true for hydrogen, but it's also true for all elements in the periodic table, and that's amazing. So I'm going to come up with there's another proof. That's one proof. There's another proof that the Chinese have noticed is yin and yang. So the idea of masculinity and femininity throughout nature. So in humans we have male and female, in animals we have male and female, in fish we have male and female, in insects we have male and female, in flowering plants we have male and female, and in particles we have positive and negative. The masculine is, generally speaking, bigger and heavier and stronger than the feminine. Another subject-object pair relationship. It's not only true on that scale, but looking at a bigger scale, looking at the solar system, our sun is big and heavy, has a strong gravity compared to the planets that orbit it. And astronomers think that our solar system is typical for all stars in the known universe, which is amazing. Astronomers are now finding supermassive black holes at the centre of galaxies, another subject-object pair. And if this theory is true, it implies at the centre of the universe there will be something that has a subject characteristic, but that's never been researched yet. Astronomers simply do not know. So I'm going to say, this proves the theory, I'm going to say all organic and non-organic existence features a complementary subject-object pair. It's interesting to note that this symmetry through everything implies a single cause of origin. So I did say that the subject has a purpose for whole and the object has a purpose for individual. So I'll try and prove that now. Consider a citizen in a society. Consider a guy who empties bins. He has to survive, he has to live, he needs a home and food and water and money generally. And that's his purpose for individual. Plus he provides a function for the survival of greater society, emptying bins. And that's his purpose for whole. Clearly, again, a purpose for individual and purpose for whole relationship. And this is true of citizens in society. It's also true of cells. So if you imagine a skin cell in your hand, it needs to exist, that's its purpose for individual, and it also provides a function for the survival of the body, that's its purpose for whole. That's true for skin cells, it's true for blood cells, brain cells, muscle cells. They all have the same characteristic, not only in humans but in all animals and plants too. There is an exception, cancer, which does not have a purpose for whole. I'm going to now tie purpose for individual to beauty and purpose for whole to love. Girls admire beauty and they aspire to be beautiful. Can I prove that? Look at any fashion magazine, they're full of objects of beauty. So femininity is related to beauty. And what does a beautiful woman want? She wants true love from a good man. So masculinity is related to love. So therefore, to be perfect, we have to be expert at love, which has a purpose for whole or masculinity, and beauty, which has a purpose for individual and femininity. So I want to look at free will now. I'm going to argue that within an individual there is no internal constraint to free thought except for the conscience, which can be overridden. So a person can be heinously evil and can be beautifully sacrificial. There's no limit on the freedom within a person. You can provide laws, but that's external. But within people, there's no internal constraint to free thought. And therefore our political system needs to respect that. So the final theory becomes, for an individual to grow to perfection, they have to be expert at both love and beauty, totally united by give and take action, centred on 100% freedom, because clearly beauty and love unite. So this theory is the foundation of a complete new philosophy, and immediately it has political implications. If you agree with the idea that we need freedom, that's interesting from the point of view of historical wars in the 20th century, World War I and World War II. But even today, there is a problem with Russia and China. Today is Christmas Day 2024. So these societies, Russia and China, do not have freedom at their centre. And some religions neither have freedom at their centre. This idea is not my own idea. I'm sorry, I'm not that clever. It's by a Korean guy called Sun Myung Moon, and he died 10-15 years ago. But there is a difference between him and me. He assumes that God exists because he loved God to bits. I'm not saying that's bad, but in my case, I have not made that assumption in making this description. So I prefer to have a more fundamental, deep, critical point of view. So, thank you very much for listening. I'm looking for recruits, and if you get in touch on the email address on the screen, I will reply to you. I never lie, and I always try to keep my promise, and I thank you for your time. Bye bye.